All right, gonna be doing some WordPress dev here. Just any questions or whatever? Just gonna be doing a site from scratch here. We've got a little bit of branding. We got some colors picked out. We're gonna be picking a vibe. We're using Avada as our main theme driver here, and we're just be going from scratch and seeing where we can get. So that's the plan today. We use WP Engine for our hosting. I'm gonna hop in here real quick to our site. Get everything plugged up here. So, all right. Need that again. When you set up a new environment, sometimes you need to set the password. I'll pull that up real quick. All right, quick password reset here. All right, so this is a fresh install of WordPress. Got a lot of things we need to clean up really quick about it, but I always like to get Avada installed first because that's really where a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing is controlled. So me diving into appearance and then into themes. We're going to be adding a new theme, uploading it from the computer. Let's see. All right, we're going to install the Avada theme. Then before we move on to anything more than that, before we activate it, I want to go back to the themes page and we want to put in their child Avada theme. The reason why we do this is because if we make any changes to the theme itself, it's going to be saved at the child level instead of the actual theme level. So actually an interesting question I'm going to look up real quick. Can we have a child plugin? Interesting. The reason we do that is because on some of our sites we have certain plugins that we make changes to, and those changes may or may not be, updated, or we don't want it to update because the changes fix some functionality for us. So we tend to not update that. Let's grab our register code here. Right, registered and ready to go here. So now that we've got the site kind of pulled together, and we're ready to go here, we're gonna start with a template. So when you're doing WordPress design, I have found it's easier to start with an outline. Most websites have the same kind of starting outline for the layout of the website, right? We have a home page, contact us page, an about us page, a services page, and then some like sub-service pages that break out each of the services. Sometimes there's some other stuff like what we do, how we do it, maybe a scheduling page. If there's a store, that's a whole different thing. And the build we're doing here, this website is for a company that does case studies. So we're going to be keeping this website super simple, super sleek. But we're going to still import a starting one just so that we can get going. Before we do this, let's go ahead and update everything. Even though it's a fresh install, a lot of the hosting services will use an older version until they get around to updating to a later version. They won't actually press or put out a new environment with new versions all the time. You're just, because you can update it this easily too. So be a waste of their time. And we're just going through and updating all of this stuff. Start up. Okay. You'll notice that it says Jake Tlapik set up here. We're going to change that here in a bit, but let's go ahead and get our stuff finished updating. Now it's going to make me go back to the updater, or I'm going to have to install these plugins here. The cool thing about Avada is that it's kind of an all-in-one theme. It does a lot of the management for you in terms of giving you the tool sets and things that you need to manage. We're going to grab a couple other plugins from in here. Okay. We're going to grab, these are all plugins that Avada provides for us. And so I want to take Filebird. This is a really nice tool for managing the folders for everything. We can grab some other stuff in here. We don't actually need anything else for this particular website, but I'd like to point out Advanced Custom Field Pro is very useful. I use that on a lot of sites. WooCommerce, again, lots of sites. I dislike Events Calendar personally. That's a whole different story. But these are all custom versions that work with Avada and its changes. So jump over to the patcher here. Avada does patch itself in between updates, which is a fantastic feature. A very highly adopted theme. So just make sure everything keeps working. And they're constantly adding new features. There's actually one coming in the next update for filtering postcards, which is a pretty cool feature. So we actually might be using advanced custom fields at one point on this site. So we'll get around to that at some point, but let's go from here. Depends on if the portfolio functionality has enough for us to use. So now that we've got everything updated, we're going to go to this websites button here, and we're going to pick a starting point website for us to just kind of preload so we can build against. Now, Avada is great because it has tons of pre-built sites, depending on the vibe, the mood, the attitude that you're looking for. So in this situation, we've got a writer who is focusing on just building case studies. They're adding in video, so we want to keep the site sleek and modern. I already went ahead and downloaded some paper graphics, paper things that we might be able to play with for the background of the website. So what we're really looking for here is something fairly clean, fairly sleek, fairly simple. So let's take a look at a few of these. Here's the consultant. This is pretty good. I think this would actually be a good starting point. One thing I dislike, I want really sharp edges for this because paper has sharp corners. And so I want to maintain a sharp corner look throughout this site. So let's see if there's another one that maybe we can start with. Let's see what this online tutor looks like. I do like this quite a bit. Again, we have some rounded corners we could eliminate. But this would be a really nice spot for kind of a torn paper look. And some background, you know, this is not a bad not a bad starting point. Let's kind of keep a hold of that one for a second. See if there's anything else that really calls out to us. I'm going a little quick. I have looked at these a lot of times, and so I kind of know where some of these are going as far as designs. Here's a more classic, simple design. Very big, very bold. I do like this sometimes. but it is also maybe a little too old-fashioned in my opinion. I want to go with something that's going to have some real pop. And as we get further down this list, they're actually going to be kind of older designs. You can see here using, very narrow fonts. Might not be a great fit. So what else do we got here? This is a pretty sleek website. It's kind of fun. It's a little dark on the green. Don't really like that too much. So keep going. Do this resume one. Okay, so I dislike these left-aligned sidebars for the most part. Let's preview this and what it would look like on a mobile view. If you don't know how to do this, this is your F12 key, brings up your console, and you can change your screen size utilizing this tool here, and it will reformat the site. So actually, I like this site in mobile view. It looks really good. I don't necessarily like the dark gray bits or the light gray bits because they don't show out on the white as good, but I really like how this looks on mobile. We could probably fix this sidebar element pretty quickly and keep the rest of it and make it look pretty sharp. Let's take a look on tablet. So they are going straight to the mobile view on tablets. That's good. That's a good sign. We can rotate this and it's going to stay in that mobile tablet view. Actually really like this one. I think maybe this is where we'll start. It's a little darker than I was shooting for originally, but we can play with that. So that's kind of where we're going to start here. So I'm just going to pop back over here and hit this import button. It's going to say you need all this stuff. I'm going to hit all import. Now, one of the reasons why I want that Firebird installed is because we're going to have to eventually extract out all the imagery on the website. We want to make sure that that's easy for us to do, and Firebird makes that pretty easy as far as things go. So, we've got this loaded. So if we actually click over to look at the site itself, you can see here we have that sample site. Okay, so we've got our sample site. We're getting going. You can see it's changed the name to Avada Resume, and we want to start making this our site. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to start in the WordPress settings area. So down here on the left on the settings menu, let's run through this real quick. So the site title, this is very important. So our customer's called Just Case Studies. Okay. And we actually have a tagline that we've developed for this. I'm going to grab here from our, say, convert more with custom made case studies. That's going to be our thing. Excuse me. Then next we have our WordPress URL and our site address. This is going to change at the end. We have an administration address. This is important to know because this is the email that your site will send things from. So if your website sends an email of any kind, this is going to need to change, or you're going to need to inject something else somewhere else in order to send from a different email address. So we're typically going to replace that with a plugin that we use. But for now, this is fine. It can send from my email address. Looking down the other settings here, here's the writing tab. All of this pretty much we leave unchanged. It's okay for right now. You can change the default post category, which might be helpful if you want to have your posts be something different as a standard. This page is extremely important. The reading page, there are two things on here that are super critical to make sure you check out. One is your homepage displays a static page. This is going to be whatever page you decide for your homepage. Avada's already set this option for us, but if it's not, if it's just showing the WordPress standard landing page, you need to come and change your homepage here. Second thing that's important here is this search engine visibility. Discourage search engines from indexing the site. So with this check mark on, Google will not look at the site. Well, look at it, but it will pass it and not try and show it in Google search results. Once we uncheck mark this, we're free game. So We don't want to turn this off until we turn the site live, but then once we turn the site live, we absolutely want this check marked off because we need our site to show up on Google. If you don't do this, you've screwed your client from getting value out of their website. The discussion tab, this is where you can disable comments. I hate comments on websites personally. You can change the settings for your automatically close comments on posts that are older than 1 day. That's typically a quick way of shutting it down. And then you have to have the comment manually approved, which means that's it. So no comments on the website, which is fine. It's something that is universal in WordPress that we don't use on most of our sites. Media tab, you can kind of leave this where it's at. It's going to make some smaller image sizes of the ones you upload. This is fine. Permalinks, this is an important one. You need to come in here and change this from plain to post name. This is going to make the URL address for your page, whatever your post name is, instead of just a random number. You can also override your permalinks, the page address. But this is a universal setting you need to go and change, set it to post name. Okay. Then you can change some of your topics or tags category links. So it'll be like /topics, /tags, / whatever. So we may change this later based on the portfolio, but for now we'll leave it. Okay, so hit save. Privacy. You can automatically create a privacy policy page. You know, it's typically good to have one. You can't really get busted for not having one, but there you go. And then Firebird settings. You can set it so that each login has their own folders. We don't need that. It's already activated through Avada. We don't need to activate this either, so we're all good there. And that's it. We don't really need to mess with this at all. So that's kind of the initial WordPress settings. Those have nothing to do with Avada. Those are on every single WordPress site. All right, let's dive into Avada though and actually start doing something. So in Avada, the main area you're looking at is this options section, okay? And these options can look really daunting when you're getting started out, but once you start understanding where things are stored and what you're doing with them, it becomes second nature of what to do with each of these menus. So it's kind of like bigger stuff and then like nittier and grittier as you get down the list. So our layout is wide. That means we go edge to edge. We don't block in content specifically, right? There's no like box. It's box versus wide. Okay. Site width is 100%. That's great. We're not offsetting anything because of that boxing. We want full scrolling instead of framed scrolling. This just means that it's not a series of frames. It's actually like a full length page. Page content padding. So this is going to inject spacing between your page content. So there's 4 sections to each web page. There's the header, the title, the content, and the footer. What this is doing is automatically adding 6% of the page length above and below your content. This might not be desirable, okay? So we typically are setting this to 0 because we want to control our page spreading, our page widths, heights, if you will, manually. So we're going to do that. And then 100 with padding controls the padding for page content. So if you wanted to keep the content off the edges, we don't want to do this. We want it to be 0. Otherwise, we won't actually go edge to edge, and that will just look really weird. Okay. If you're going to use sidebars, here's some sidebar presettings. I tend to avoid sidebars, but that's that page. All right, so going into the responsive layout, this controls responsive design. So what is responsive design? Instead of designing 3 separate web pages, one for desktop, one for tablet, one for mobile, we design one page that's responsive, that changes based off of the size of the screen. So in doing so, we have to set what are called breakpoints, because when we get into designing the pages, and you'll see this here in a bit, we can choose what page break things appear or disappear at, which can be helpful to us if we want specific sizing on different levels, mobile versus desktop, right? So these are the breakpoints at which those things happen. So you can see here, we've got our small screen breakpoint is at 640 and our medium screen breakpoint is at 1024. These are pretty standard breakpoint sizes, okay? You can bring your small screen break up to maybe 800 if you wanted to. But since we're going to be designing medium and small is very similar, it shouldn't matter too much, okay? And then responsive typography, this allows your font sizes to scale a little bit based off of the screen size. So it's going to keep your justifications in the right space. So we're going to just leave those as it is because we haven't really gotten into the site. We don't know how it's set up, the demo site, and what we want to do with it. All right, so colors. This is our global color palette, all right? These allow us to pull these colors and maybe change them later as needed. This is a preloaded set, and as such, we're gonna change this out a little bit. Okay. We also get to pick a primary color. It's the main highlight color through the site. So I'm gonna pull up the color set that we chose for this client, which is gonna be this color palette here. Okay. This is meant to simulate paper and pencil, okay, with a pencil yellow as our highlight color. So we're just going to punch these in. I'm going to jump in here to our color 4, which is actually, ironically, very close to our color that we chose. And I'm just going to drop in our hex code. Look how close that was. That's so wild. All right. Color 1 is typically always white. Color 2 will be a control color. We're going to put this as my paper color, which is going to be this F9 FBFF. Okay, so that's going to be called paper. And we can actually change the name here. So we'll call this paper. Okay. Then I usually tend to like choosing an off color for that. So we'll do paper dark. We're going to drop our paper color in here. And then we're just going to drop this straight down a little bit and make it just slightly darker. Okay, so that way we have a color to balance it against. Okay, now we're getting to our darker colors here. We chose this kind of graphite gray for one of our colors. We're going to put that in. We're going to call this graphite. All right, so we know what we're working with. And then we're going to do the exact same thing where we do that like graphite dark. Okay. All right. And then we're getting towards the end here. I'm going to put in our full black color. Okay. And then this last color, I tend to just make something wild so I can get rid of it later. Avada does force you to have 8 colors as a minimum in your palette. So if I don't need all 8, I'll usually just make it a wild color and then we can get rid of it. I hit those save changes. Let's actually pop back out to the page and see how these changes went through. So you can see that wild color is actually being used by the background of the menu. So we're able to spot that really quickly. And look, it's actually being used several times on the site by different things. So maybe what we'll do is we'll actually make this color match my graphite color. So let's grab our graphite color again. And we'll just plug it in here and call this graphite as well. You know, we're duplicating it, but if it's already coded out, we might fiddle with it that way. Well, let's see how this looks. All right, so it's actually the same color for the menu letters as the graphite. So we're gonna have to fiddle with that a little bit, but that's all right. We're just using this as kind of like a starting point. Okay, so jumping back over to our global options, let's go down to the header, okay? And you can see here these options are not being used because there's a header override, all right? So we need to fix the header override. So by doing, Avada makes it easy for us to get to it by clicking this edit the header, okay? So here's our global header. All right. And we can scroll down here and see how we're doing the layout here. Our header position is left. We're just going to change this to top. Hit update and see what happens. Oh, did we save it? Okay, so not super helpful, but is on the top now, which gives us the full width of our site, and it's already looking really sharp here. I really like where this is going. So let's go back over to our global header. We're going to edit this header specifically. As you can see, it's kind of this all stacked header. We're just going to start making some changes to it. So we don't want it to be tall. We want it to be wide. So the way that Avada operates, every page is like a content block. And then within our content block, we have blue containers. And then in each container, we have columns. Now, inside of those columns, you can have nested columns. They're totally optional, but that's the main structure. Content, container, column. Very confusing sometimes. And then inside of columns, we have elements. All right. So in this case, we have a couple of elements in here already. We maybe want to keep them. I'm going to delete this extra image that we've got in here. And we're going to see if maybe this is loading on a different page. Is this loading? So we're going to load this default image on all the levels or all the sizes, okay? And then we're going to check the image and make sure that it's doing the same thing. You can see this is doing hash home, which means it would go back to the home page. This is the icon that's loading. Remember, it's over a dark color. We're actually going to go with a light colored background. We're going to need a dark colored logo. We already have a logo. And instead of adding it here, I'm actually going to hit this dynamic content button, which is going to give me a drop down. And now I can choose the site logo. And I'm going to choose the site logo from the main menu. We'll go back to that in a second, but we're going to set that there. Now you'll see we still have this stacked view. So what we want to do is we want to convert this so that we have everything on one line. Well, you can see our column is 1-to-1 width. So I'm going to adjust this from 1-to-1 width to a smaller size. All right, typically I like to put my logo in a quarter and my menu in a 3/4. All right, so now you can see we're all up on one line. Our menu's not designed correctly though, so we need to adjust this. We're gonna jump in here. We don't want a vertical menu, we want a horizontal menu. So we're gonna change that very easily, okay? And hit save on that. And let's just see what happened there. We're gonna hit update and jump back out to our home page. Let's see how we're looking. All right, not too shabby. It's a little big, but we've got the menu loading in, and there's a little bit of space over here. We'll figure that one out. Okay, so remember, we want a white titled menu. In fact, maybe we want to have some kind of like a papery effect behind this. So let's upload one of our paper images here. So we're going to create an assets folder here, and I'm going to jump into it and extract all of these files over here. Let's extract. Let's go back to our global options, and we're going to take a look at our logo section. Okay, here's our logo, and what we want is to just make some adjustments to this. We don't necessarily need these giant margins, so we're going to go down to 10 pixel margins. Okay, and I don't actually want any margin to the left because I'm going to do some alignment control with that. Okay. And then logo background color, I don't want one. I want it to be its own natural self. Okay? And then here's where we upload our logo. So you can see we have a default Retina. Retina should be a 2x size. Now here's the thing. If you just drop a big enough logo, you don't need the Retina version. So I'm going to jump in here and, oh, it looks like we only output these as JPEGs. One thing we're going to do by the end of this project is replace the logo with an SVG, which is a rendered animated version of the logo rather than a rasterized pixelated version of the logo. That's going to make our logo just look better on the site in production. But for now, we need to just export this logo for our site to be useful. And to go to export and export for screens, we want a PNG, so that's a transparent background logo. And you'll notice, just caught a little mistake, we have some white in the paperclip. Okay, we don't want any white background in that paperclip. So if I kind of click into here and grab this white background and delete it, now go to export for screens. Well, can't really tell, but it looks like there's one. All right, then we're gonna export this at a ×4 PNG. Call it just case studies underscore logo 1 and export. All right, so now that should be right here. We're just gonna drag and drop this into our site. So remember how I said we wanted to keep the old stuff separated from the new stuff? So we're actually gonna manage our media folder here in a bit and move all of this into a delete later folder, okay? So there's our just case studies logo. We're gonna pop that up there like that and just hit save. Okay, going back to our global header section, we're gonna drop some paper assets in here. So let's see, I've got a paper pack here. Got some papery effects. You like that? That's a little... not a bad paper effect. A little crinkly. Not bad either though. This one's a little bit more yellow. I don't necessarily know if I want like a yellow. I think I like this one. No. This one the best. All right, so we're gonna grab this one and drop it up in here. Close all these windows. Zoink. This is a huge image. It's 11 megabytes. So one thing that's amazing about Avada when you're using it is that it's automatically compressing all of your images. So you can use a compressed version of them. So you don't have to worry about uploading images that aren't going to load well or are too big. It will actually give you the option to use a compressed version. So very nice. You can control that compression too. There's a menu area where you can make those changes. Excellent, excellent. All right, so we've got this paper in here, and I actually want to make an edit to this. So I'm going to click this edit image, and I'm going to rotate this to the right. I want it to actually be a long image that we can use. Okay, so now we've got this image, and we need to just make sure that we use the correct size. All right, I want to make sure this goes all the way across. So I'm going to use the full size of this image. Okay, and insert into post. And this is going to be the background of our container. Okay, we'll hit save. And now we're starting to get, something put together. So let's hit update and let's see where we're at. All right, so as you can see, we're starting to get some stuff in here. We have some colors that we're gonna have to compete with on some of our containers here, or our columns here, but we're getting really close. All right, so we're gonna come back here, and by looking at this, I can tell that there's a color on the back of this column. I'm gonna jump in here, go to the background, and there it is. I'm simply going to just delete that out, which is going to leave us with a blank container. Let's check on the background of the column for the menu. That doesn't have one, so that means it's in the background of the actual menu items. So let's jump into the menu and adjust this. So the justification, how will things be justified? I'm going to do right aligned on this one. Okay, we're using Montserrat 15 pixel. That's fine. Our menu padding is going to have 40 pixels on the top and 20 on the bottom. I don't like that. That's too imbalanced. Let's do 20 and 20. And let's do 10 pixels on the left and right. So we'll balance out everything into a square. Okay. Main menu spacing, I want to put a 5 pixel spacing in between each item so that the scrollable content gets passed over, whatever. All right, we're gonna keep our transition as a fade. I like that. Icon position, we're not using icons at this point, so we'll just leave them. Title justification centered. That's fine for the mega menu if we decide to use that. And here we go. Here's the actual styling of the menu pieces. So main menu background color, I don't want one, so I'm just gonna delete this out. Okay, text color, we have the paper background, so we want graphite is fine. And do we want a border? No, I don't want a border. So we're just going to eliminate that. And then that won't matter. So now we have text in the icon color. When you hover over it or whether it's active, let's make it look a little different, okay? The text being our yellow or our pencil gold is great. But let's give it a background color too. And we're going to use our graphite dark as our background color. Let's hit save and see how our menu is starting to shape up now. Now, it actually is using menu icons in the menu that we're using now. So we'll leave it as is, but we'll take a look at it. Okay. And look at that. That is a pretty nice looking header so far. Our logo is a little small, but we can fix that. Okay. Let's jump back over and fix that. I'm going to simply open up the logo, and I'll bet you on this design tab we have a width, max width, which is fine. We're just going to delete that and see how this goes. I also want this aligned as left as possible to balance out the menu. So let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, big, a little bit too big. So let's use our inspector tool, that F12 tool, to find out where all of these extra paddings and things are, where they are. So looking in this, you can see from my column, as I use this tool here, right, the selector tool, see that big green bubble? That means it's adding so much extra space. I don't want that. I want no extra space. So we just need to simply come into our column and check out, here's our padding. We're going to kill all of it. And hit save. Now let's see how this looks now. Okay, so our actual logo got a little bit bigger. We probably need to put out a version that's a tight cut. So let's do that. So we're going to come into our logo file. I'm going to grab our logo here. I'm going to make a new artboard. Okay. I'm going to paste this into the artboard. And since it's all selected, what I can do is actually go back to the artboard tool and say fit to artwork bounds. Sorry, fit to selected artwork. And now it's fitted perfectly to it. Now I like to give it just a smidgy of padding on the sides so that nothing gets cut off. Okay. And that's that. So now we're going to go to export for screens. We're going to call this logo 1 underscore crop. All right. Export that to edit. Not there. We actually have to do it back here in the main logo menu. We're going to upload. Drag and drop from our folders on our desktop. There you go. There's a much tighter version of our logo. We could have edited the logo in WordPress, but we opted not to. All right, so now let's see how we're doing here. Hey, look at that. That's not too shabby. Okay, now we do need to bring the size of this bad boy down just a smidgy. So as you can see, we have a width of, if I hover over this with my tool, we have a width of 176 pixels, because you can see from that first line there. We're gonna bring that down to maybe 125 and see what we get. 125 px. That's gonna be our width, and we want to be left aligned. And let's take a look now, see what our change looks like. Okay, all right. So we've got some stuff going on here. Let's add a little bit of padding to our overall container for our menu, and that's going to balance out each side. So we're going to do a 30 pixel padding on both sides. And that should press our menu and our logo in a little bit, but in a balanced way. Great. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if I like this going top to bottom here, like the full selector. I don't know if I like it going all the way to the top and bottom. Okay. So let's adjust this. We're going to jump back into our menu, go to main, and we're going to simply reduce our padding all around. 10. And let's see if we like how this looks a little bit better. All right, so as we can see, our menu is actually being sized by our buttons, because our buttons were the biggest element in our menu. We want to make sure that that's, basically not the case. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the column where the menu is, hit design, and we're going to add padding 10 pixels on the top and bottom of the menu column. And there we go. Now we've got a full-blown button right out there in the middle. Now, I'm not in love with using the dark graphite here, because it's not blending well with my orange. So what I want to do, our logo is in black, right? It's in full black. So let's try and keep that theme going here in the header. We're going to go back to our main. We're going to make our text color here full black. Okay. Make this full black. And then on hover, okay, we're going to make the background color go full black. And then we're going to make the hover our paper color. The text color is going to be our paper color. Let's see how this looks, because this might actually end up looking a little bit better. All right, I'm digging it. Digging it a lot. That looks really sleek. Okay. So we've kind of adjusted our header. Let's take a look at this at some other sizes. All right, look, we've got a problem. Our header at a smaller size looks like trash. So fix that. So why is it doing that? Well, a couple possibilities. One, our columns, let's look at it. Our columns could be laying out incorrectly at a tablet view size. Our breaks could be bad for our menu. We gotta go look at a couple things. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the column. So you can see from the design on desktop, we're at 3/4 width. So let's go down to mobile or tablet size, and you can see we're at 1/4 width, which that's not ideal. We want to go back to 3/4 width, right, on the tablet size. And then on mobile, let's do a half. Okay. Then we got to look at our logo and see if we're doing the same thing. So 1/4 on desktop, and look at that, full width on tablet, which is probably pushing us to the next line. So we want to go back to the 1/4, okay? And then on mobile, we want to be 1/2, okay? Let's update that and see if that fixed our problems here on the tablet view. Okay, and it fixed our alignment issues, but we still have a color issue for the menu here. This doesn't look great, so let's clean this up. We're going into the menu. We did our main part. Let's jump over to the mobile menu here. You can see our screen break for the collapsing to our hamburger menu, as this is called, is on our medium screen or our tablet break. Okay, so we're going to need to adjust some of the colors and things for that. So we have a mobile menu trigger background color, which is 0 or transparent. That's great. And then the trigger text color, which is whatever the color the hamburger menu is white. We don't want it white. We want it black. Okay? And we can actually add text here if we wanted this to have some explanation, whatever. And then we don't want it to be full width. It's got a margin of 20 pixels that pushes where the menu is down from the button itself. That's great. And then this is choosing the colors in the menu itself. So mobile menu text color, let's go with black, and then hover, let's go with background color becoming black and the active color becoming paper. All right, let's see how this looks. Okay, so that might be a little too abusive with the context, but otherwise our menu is looking real nice here. We might want to change the font size, but otherwise looking pretty good. Let's just do that real quick. Change some font sizes here. So here's our mobile menu typography menu, and we can choose our font size. And let's go with 24 pixel font. It might be too big, but let's just see if we like it or not. And then our font family should probably still be Montserrat, which is great. And then this text is way too big, the word menu. Let's dump this down from 40 to 20 and see how much more we like that. That might be a better size. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. And I like how big those are, okay? But you can see we're just clipping off the word studies here. I kind of want my menu to go down a little bit more. So let's see what distance we need to get this. Might be just as simple as adding 5 pixels to the separation. I'm going to dump the word menu, I think, because I liked how it looked before with the big hamburger. Go 40. Let's see if that actually did what we wanted it to do. Which offset this just enough to be really nice. Okay, there we go. Now you'll notice we don't have a sticky menu. I like sticky menus, so let's make this sucker sticky. So while we're in the global header layout section, we can hit the background of the container, go to extras, and simply click position sticky. We want it sticky on all screens, okay? Now what you can do is hide on scroll. So I want it to go away, and then if someone goes to scroll back up, I want it to come back into the screen. So let's just set this to be about, I find 180 pixels feels about right for that amount. How much you need to scroll. So there we go. So it scrolls away, and then as I go to scroll back up, it comes back in. And that's just a lovely little effect, I think. One more thing we can do on that, just to check, is if we have a... let's see. We can add a drop shadow to our container. So this is where we could do that. We could actually add a little drop shadow if we wanted. I'm going to avoid it for now, but we may come back later and decide that we want to have that in there, just to separate it out a little bit more from the rest of the page. But for now, I think we're pretty good. This looks pretty sharp. And just to scale this down for iPhone 12. Okay, so we need to fix that, but that's back in our global options. And you can see here, mobile logo. We're literally just going to hit remove, and it's going to fail back that mobile logo. Guess what? The regular desktop logo. Boom. And that's pretty good, I think. That's a nice, sharp little header. Okay, a nice little menu. You drop that down. Nice big bunk, 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 bunk. Get you to what you need to go to. Okay. One thing I did notice here is that we may want this to all be all caps to match our logo. So let's go back to our global settings. We're going to go to our typography section. We're going to look at our headings here. And you can see here that's forcing capitalization. I want to force uppercase. Save those changes and see if that impacts my menu. And it does. Look at that. It's real nice. I also want it to be a little beefier. So you see we have Montserrat as our family here. But we can actually control the heading a bit more in the individual settings area. So if I go back to our header here and go to our main or our mobile section here and come down to this section, I can select a more specific font family and change my variant to be bold. And this is actually going to make this a little bit thicker. I think I like that a bit. It more harmonizes with my logo there. All right, that's how we did the header. We got started. We went through the settings section on WordPress. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff that we just kind of covered. Let's do a little bit more, then we'll call it a day. I want to tackle a little bit on the homepage, so we're going to just remove our scale down here, okay? And give this page a refresh. All right. And let's dive into this. So I really like how this is already kind of laid out. We're going to need some different images. Let's hop over to Elements. And let's see if we search for paperwork, if there's a good image here for our case study. Kind of like this, but it's a little messy. I wish it wasn't as messy. What we're doing is not messy at all. It's very specific. Let's say report. We definitely want this in landscape, so let's get rid of those vertical ones. You know what? Let's go with our graphic templates. and see if we have something of a report. What would this be called? This is called a... I don't actually want the report. I want a... mock-up. That's what I want. There we go. This is what we're looking for. So we want a mock-up image for our report. So let's see if we can find something in here. Maybe it's a PDF mock-up. I want something like this on like a table. I don't hate that, where he's holding it. I like that one too. Let's go with this one. I think we can get away with it on just the one image there. I think we need this. All right, so this is where we drop our page. And we don't actually have something developed here, I don't think. So we're gonna have to just whip something up, or we can grab something from case study. Let's see if there's something that we can steal. I like some of these. Sure, this works. We get to open this in another Adobe program. Fantastic. Welcome to web design, where you do anything but design web stuff. Oh my gosh. Let's replace all of these fonts. Surratt using Surratt bold. Extra page. Oh. Medium. Semi bold. Change all. Done. There you go. Oh wow, it's the whole thing. We really only want this section, right? So we're gonna just copy this file, document. Here we go. $9.99 Easy Street. Or brand.com. All right. Let's see, do I have any random images to throw in the background here? I'm sure I do. Always have something going. So I want to throw some tacos in there. That would be kind of weird. Do have an image of tacos though. Let's go somewhere else. Here. Such a beautiful site. One day I'll finish that website. I was doing an entirely watercolor designed website. It was beautiful. It's just beautiful. Sure, this is fine. Make this case study color. Wait, this color. And let's grab that paper we had. Last but certainly not least, let's drop our logo in here. We would be remiss to not put that in. Oops, didn't do that. Like kind of peachy color. Make this go more. All right, that looks like a thing, right? All right, export. Now we should have this cover shot. And of course they're not the same size, so we're gonna have to scale this up. It's over a little bit. Do that. And we're gonna save that. And shakalaka, look at that. Oh, that looks so good. Okay. Now, what I want to do is hang on, let me do that. That's okay. File export as, we're going to do this as a JPEG. It's good to me. Export D. Perfect. All right. We can actually do something. So here's the home page. Let's hit edit page. All right. So this first section here is going to be our big background image. I'm going to hit edit on this. And I'm going to grab our brand new holding a case study image. Upload this, but then we're going to do a little bit of a crop action. Okay. What I want to do is I want to edit this image. Crop. I need to bring this in a little bit. And then we want to do 16 by 9. Okay. This is going to crop it to an average size of a screen. Okay. I want to crop it so that I get that just case studies section in there, but I don't want it to be left of my center point. Okay. We're going to hit crop, hit save, and then we're going to say insert this into here. Now what I want to do is I want my background position to be locked in center bottom. That means that the most important part of this image is going to be right here. It's going to make sure that this is center bottom locked every single time the page loads. That's what I want. So let's reload and let's take a look-see-loo at how our new... Boom, look at that. Ooh, that's looking so good. All right, but we need to offset it because it's too bright as an image. We need to make some color over it. So a couple different ways to do this. You can do it with a gradient, but I've found that I like just doing a flat color. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna grab our graphite color. I'm gonna go to image, and I'm going to say background blend mode, and I'm gonna do multiply. What this is going to take the natural colors and multiply them against each other. So when I come back here and reload, look at, boom! Right away, we've got a snazzy image. Now, we have a problem here. Small problem. Not a big problem, small problem. This is loading too big, right? Because we have to scroll a little bit to see the just case studies. I want this to be the exact same size as my viewable window. I come back here, I'm going to edit my container and see where it says minimum height. We're set to minimum height, 100 view height, which each one is 1% of the view height. Instead, that's the whole height of the window. Instead, I just want it to be full height. This change alone should make it so that my box is always going to be exactly the full height of the window. All right. Now, again, small tiny problem. We're not taking into account the header, okay, which is, you know, pushing this whole thing down a smidge, right? So we actually want to come back and we're going to go back to our minimum height and we're going to say 100% view height minus. We're going to do a calc. We're going to do 100 view height minus. And I'm going to come in here and use my inspector tool and find out that this is 101 pixels tall. Okay? Minus 100 pixels. And now our section should be dead on exactly the height of our window, just like that. That looks really nice with that just case studies emblazoned right in there. Okay, so this section is called our hero header image, or hero image, okay? It needs to communicate what we do and why they need to buy it all in one shot, okay? So there's a couple different schools of thought here of what you can and can't do, but I tend to say you need a bold emotional strategy line, and then a what you do line, and then call to action and a redirection if that call to action is not enough. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to come in here and say, you know, pretty much our tagline is going to be what we're going to look at here. So I'm going to say convert more with custom made case study. All right. I go to design and I just want to make sure that this all gets capitalized and hit save. And then say create beautiful data act case studies to nurture leads. We don't need to make it too complicated, I don't think. And again, I just want to make sure this is all capitalized. Let's see how that fits here. I think it's going to actually go too far because the design is not correct. Yep. Convert more with custom-made case studies. Create beautiful data-packed case studies to nurture leads. I actually like where this is going. I like how this is handling itself. This maybe goes too far, but our key part of our image is actually here, so we're not overlapping it. So I'm actually going to say keep it. Okay. Now here's where things are going to get weird. I'm going to make a new column. I'm going to make this a half width column because I don't want to make a mistake here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the button down to this half column. Okay, so this button is still aligned perfectly fine. I'm going to change this column styling from column to row. This means it's going to load in things in a line rather than vertically. I want to align everything left. I want to center align that stuff. Okay. And then I'm going to basically add another button. So I'm going to just duplicate this one and see how we're looking just off of that. Okay, that's pretty good, but we have way too much space here. So let's use our inspector and figure out where the space is coming from. And you can see there's some kind of major... there it is. This title has a lot of margin on the bottom of it. Okay, and then on top of that, we're spacing things interestingly here. So on our container, we're doing an interesting alignment. I want to do center alignment. That's how I want it. Our spacing will collapse that way. Then on my title, I want to actually maintain that spacing that we had. On these buttons, though, I want to add just a little bit of margin around them. I usually like 5 pixels of margin. I add it all around, just so that way it's balanced. And then I'm actually just going to delete and clone that again. Let's see how this looks. Okay, see, so that's much better, much smoother spacing of what I was looking for here. Okay, so we've got a great layout going here. We just need to tweak up these buttons a little bit. So one of them is going to stay learn more, but I actually want that to be the less important button and the second one. So the learn more button is going to be here. We're going to change the design. We don't want this as the default design. We want this one as the custom design. So we're going to change this. We're going to say our button gradient start color. We actually want this to be transparent. So we're going to go to FFFF, okay? We're going to drag our transparency bar down to 0, okay? I'm just going to copy this and pop it in the second one. On the hover, I want this to go white, okay? So we're going to go white on the hover. Then we're going to get down here to button text color. And initially, I want this to be white. And then on hover, I want this to turn black. Okay? And then the last thing I want to do is I want to remove the icon. I don't want an icon on this one. And I actually don't want an icon on this one either. So I'm just going to come over here and quickly unselect that icon, hit save. And this one I'm going to change from learn more. This one I want it to be order your case study. Okay. We'll change where the button goes here in a bit. For now, we're just looking at design. All right, so we have a problem. A, this pushed this down too far. We didn't want that. And B, this doesn't have the outline structure that we really were looking for. So we need to fix that. So jump back in here. We're going to change this to 1-to-1. That way everything gets loaded on the line. Okay. And this one is good. This one we need some work. So we're going to go back in here. We're going to go into design and we're going to look for some options here. I want it to be extra large. That's fine. Button span, no. Margin, yes. Icon, there you go. We're looking for border color. Here we go. So border, we want there to be this 2 pixel radius is fine, I guess. Probably need to change that in global. In fact, we're going to. In order to change it, all you gotta do is click on it, and it will take you right to wherever that spot is. There we go, in the settings. And I'm just going to simply change this to zeros because I want square corners. Okay, going back to the page here. I want a border size. So I'm going to go with a 3 pixel border size. Kind of like kind of a fattier thickness. And then what we want to do is we want this to be a white border to start with. And then we want it to stay a white border when it gets hovered on. Let's see how this looks now. It's coming back in. Here we go. All right. That's pretty slick. I like how that's looking. Now, I do not want to lose focus on this button. Why do I feel like I can see shadow? Some kind of button shadow here, and I don't like it. We're gonna have to figure that one out. Go back to our global options. See if it's anywhere in here. I don't see it. But it's somewhere. And this is the greatest problem with using... This is the problem with using these pre-built sometimes, is that you get these weird button effects where you get this glowing edge. But it's not there. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I might just be seeing. Okay. But you see how this is not the same size because we've added a border to this and not to this. So we need to fix that, basically. And in order to do so, we're going to go to our global options and go back to our builder elements. And here's our button. Okay. You can see that there's actually a color change here that I'm not a huge fan of. It's like, it just doesn't look good. All right. So they're actually modifying the global color, which is fine. Like, I don't dislike that, but I would rather go the other way and lighten it. I just think that tends to look better. So we'll global color, and then we're gonna go. Oh. Then we're gonna hit this little bar. We're gonna go 4 and 8, and that's gonna improve the brightness of it. 4 and 8. 4 and 8. That looks good. And that's gonna make that look just like a little bit better. We're all right there. It's weird, but we're all right. But again, I didn't actually fix the issue that we were in there to fix. So we need to add a border size of 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay. And then the border color needs to be orange, and then our augmented orange of 4 and 8. And save. And now let's jump back out here. And there you go. Our buttons are now the same size. Okay. Zoom, 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 zoom. And what you could actually do here is if you really don't want people to click that learn more, you can actually make it a smaller button. So we could come back in here, hit design, scroll down, and go to like a medium button. And you could do it like that. And just like that, I mean, that's a pretty decent homepage splash. Pretty nice. we'll have to play with this a bit more, you know. But otherwise, you know, it's pretty I like pretty much where this is going. This paper might actually be too aggressive. But what we can do is we can go back to our header here. Let's just give it a quick refresh, make sure that we're using the latest and greatest version. And we'll simply go to our background, go to our image. Here's our like kind of grayed out image. Do screen, which divides the color. And then we'll just set our color to our paper. And let's see how this ends up looking on the homepage. Yeah, we lose pretty much all of our definition there, but we can still control this. Come back in here, and we can actually add some gradient or some opacity to our color, which will reduce the effect. We got a little bit better. It's still a little bit more gray than I want, so let's just hop back over here. We'll split the difference on that opacity. Oh yeah, that's looking really nice there. Yeah, I like how that's looking. All right, let's do one more section. Why not? Okay. Yeah, I kind of like this big about, but there was an issue further down where the colors kind of gooned up. So let's go get another image, maybe, of someone handing paperwork. Give paper. I don't know, sometimes it's you gotta really figure out port. I like where this one's going. Ooh, I like this one too though. Let's go with this one. All right. I'm gonna download that image. Okay. Scroll down our board. Now, okay, here's something we almost missed. We have a separate mobile header. Let's take a look at that. A little different than the one we're using, okay? Reload. See? Not quite the same thing. So now we're gonna need to we'll come in here and we'll replace this image with our case study image. And then down here, we'll just grab our verbiage from back up here. Sure we're all caps. Okay. Actually, I'm just gonna clone my buttons down. But we're just gonna redo these for center alignment. See if we fix that. It's not bad. We're losing our learn more button though. And there's a line break I don't like there. Which is probably... No, it's not the image. I don't know why there's a line break. We're gonna have to figure that one out. All right, so let's take a look at our container and see if we have border. There it is. My border. Nobody likes you. And then this learn more button, we just need to adjust our coloring here. We're gonna make our start color black. Wait, no. Keep it transparent. We want the background. I'm a ninny. And then the hover color is going to be black. Okay. And then the text is going to start black and go. And then our border is going to start black and stay. Okay, this is one of the crappiest bits. Did I change the wrong one? It's one of the crappiest bits about Avada. If you go too fast, like I do sometimes, it will not save because it is using PHP injection to make the changes. Sometimes just doesn't save them fast enough and you click reload too quickly. That's what I just did, so I'm gonna have to do this again and hit save. Give the PHP a moment to process it and then hit update. And there's our button. And for these buttons, what we want to do is make one small change. We're going to make these button span yes, which means they're going to be the full width of the designed page, but only on mobile, obviously. I might have gone too fast there. Sometimes it can happen. It did. Jolly. Jolly is how I feel about that one particular wonderful little glitch thing. There we go. Look at that. All right. So now that we got that section squared up, let's go back to our desktop view. Reload. And let's take a look at this next section, okay? We got an about section, we got some placeholder text, a big old image. We just downloaded an image. May work fantastically for this. What we're doing here is we're actually using the image as a background on a column so that it fully scales the space that we want to use. Okay? There's a pro and a con to this. The pro being that we get it to scale perfectly every time. The con here is that it doesn't get taken into account for SEO value. So when you do this, just be aware that whatever image you're putting here is going to have 0 SEO value for you, unless you embed it as an actual image. There is a way to do it so that it does, but it is long and complicated, and I don't recommend spending the time on it. Okay, we have an overlay for our background blend. And let's just do what we did last time. We'll do our graphite. Okay. And we're not going to do overlay. We're going to do... Let's see how this looks. Okay. So I like how it looks, but we're not getting the piece of the image that I actually want. I'm going to crop it down to the correct image elements. So I'm going to just simply come back in here, like this, and click edit image. And I want this report to be important here. So I'm going to manually crop this. I want the report to be on the kind of side over there. And once I have my crop set, I'm just going to hit crop. I'm going to hit save. And now what I'm going to do is once this gets inserted back into the page, make sure we're using the full resolution version down here, which we are. I'm going to change my background position to center, so to right center, which is going to lock us to that center right point on the image as being pinned to the wall. And that should ensure that every single time we get that particular image. All right. We'll just make some adjustments to this section. We'll say why case studies, something like that. Inspiring engagement through proficiency. I don't know. That might have just completely blown this entire layout, so let's see what happens. Let's do this. Let's do track. Drive sales from successes. Maybe that's a little bit better. All right. And then we just write something here like communicating past success is critical to educating and nurturing trust in new leads. Case studies provide valuable information about proficiencies, set expectations, and communicate forethought. I don't know. That could all be baloney. And then we're gonna leave the big C samples. People love samples. How does this look at zinc? I like it. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do before I hop off here is I'm going to just remove this icon because I really don't typically like icons on buttons. It's something that this design clearly was using, and we're not going to. So, and I'm going to set my button to be big. I like big buttons. I cannot lie. Few other buttons can't deny. The button walks in with a hover effect. Around the corners in your face, you get. No, that's dumb. Don't ever repeat that. All right, awesome. Well, I gotta say, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, SiteBay, for tuning in. If you have any questions, about WordPress, web dev, I'm going to be doing this more often as I'm working, just trying to provide more value on WordPress and demystifying it to a degree. Some people are so scared of the word WordPress, they want to jump straight onto, Wix or Squarespace or something because it sounds so much easier. But in all honesty, you're avoiding a great tool, great asset that maybe you don't have access or you don't think you have access to because it's scary, but it's not. So thanks for tuning in, and definitely follow me. We'll be going live more. Just hanging out.